Welcome to A Corporate Time with Tom and Dan. I'm Tom.
I am Dan. Samantha, our producer's here. Hello, Sam.
Hello.
Kostya and Amy Kimlat are on the couch with us. How you guys doing?
We're doing
Great.
wonderful.
Waking them up there.
Yeah. I apologize. Now, I'll tell everybody what happened. So
What did you do? Did you already mess something up?
No.
They look very happy to be here.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
always look great.
Well-
They're probably the most professional couple that we ever have in, without a doubt. I mean, you guys are like power couple, magic power couple, I feel like.
And we're going to talk about Amy's book.
Yeah.
Of course, last time she was here, we talked about Hocus Pocus Practice Focus,
Yeah.
which you brought in some
I think
some
that was
copies
via
for us.
Zoom,
Yeah.
right? Wasn't
Yes,
that?
we
did.
Yeah.
Which was difficult.
So it's out right
like-
now, and Kostya's Christener's dinner shows are back at MagicShowOrlando.com. I want to, because that was one of the best experiences I've had in a long time.
Yeah.
It's I'll tell you straight up, my best steakhouse experience was that.
Yeah.
And I go to a lot of steakhouses, and I have opinions that some people around here don't like. There's one down the road that everybody likes, but that one with the magic was the greatest steakhouse meal I've ever had. It was so good, man.
I love hearing that.
So good.
They're amazing.
Yeah, so book it because it will sell out, and you're missing out if you haven't seen this.
It's something you can do as a gift for somebody that.
a date night?
Yeah,
I mean, it's better.
You
best
will
date
win.
night.
You'll never lose with that.
That's great.
But the reason Kostya's here and Amy.
You're the reason.
Yeah,
you're,
why?
you're-
What's-
the reason you're
Well,
wasting
okay.
their time. You're wasting their time.
So
It's always for Tom's personal benefit.
I thought that's what this whole show was about.
It is.
The king
Okay.
sits on the mountain and he's like, "Bring me my magician to explain."
I have questions.
Okay.
to me.
So I was watching Hard Knocks this year, of course, with Aaron Rodgers, and as everybody knows now, he is not playing the season anymore because he got injured.
Yeah, my starting quarterback.
Who predicted that one?
No,
Nobody. Well, one guy on Twitter actually. that is a thing.
And you know what?
One guy on Twitter.
I would have said. Now this is true, and has nothing to do with America or this is just me and just doing things that don't settle right with me. The fireworks is great. The Hard Knocks is great. But the minute you start running out of the tube with a big, giant American flag, you're really pouring it on thick. Something's going to happen, right? I just felt like, man, pull it back a little bit. Pull back a little bit. Wait to see how you're going to do.
Now, I know this happened a long time ago, as it were airing now. I mean, this is the second episode of Hard Knocks, but they brought in a mentalist, Oz Perlman, correct?
What's his name?
Oz. It
That's
looks
a good
like
name.
Oz, but it's
That's
Oz.
a good name for a mentalist. You know I like the fit and the finish of the presentation. That's a good name.
Yeah, and so they bring him in to the Jets meeting room, and he does some tricks for the entire team. And this, you could see the clips online if you haven't seen Hard Knocks, and they're super impressive tricks, right? To the point where I became obsessed with figuring them out because I was like, wait a minute. How did he do this? I'm like,
It's the same thing you
this
do
bothers
every time
me.
you see Kostya.
Every time, this is.
Yeah.
I've been curious how your passion has continued. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
No.
Well, this guy couldn't even eat a steak. He was just sitting there, like fears were bothering him, was making him angry.
I become obsessed with it to where I can't sleep at night because I'm running through my head, and until I figure out, or I think I figure out how they did it, it bothers me to no end, right?
Okay.
So it took me a couple weeks, but I figured it all out, except for one, which this is why.
So that's why you.
Okay, don't tell me. I don't want to know.
Well, I know Kostya. Listen, I
And
don't
you know he
expect
hates
Kostya.
talking about magic. What are you doing?
No, I know. I don't expect Kostya to reveal any secrets of
I
the
will.
trade. Okay,
Yeah,
perfect, Amy. I know you know because
Oh my
you
God.
see him do it.
I never took the oath.
Exactly.
Right.
You're not even supposed to talk about the oath.
So Amy, so you can tell me if
And
I'm
then
right
that
or wrong.
guy on the
Kostya
TV with the mask, and he's revealing all the
It was
secrets.
her.
Oh my
Everybody
God.
hated him. I mean, you look a lot more svelte in person. That guy was big. He was a big
People
man.
did hate that guy.
He had death threats.
I know.
Now, before I start revealing everything, I want to ask Kostya one question. What's the difference between a mentalist and a magician?
Yeah, mentalism is a type of magic.
Okay.
So in performance, like, people tend to associate mentalism to more real-like powers because you don't have props in your hands. You're not doing quote-unquote tricks. But the beauty of mentalism is it's another form of magic. It just seems much more believable to people, especially these days, because I think it hints at powers that we're close to having, of being able to read thoughts, of being able to move objects without touching them. Like, science is moving that way. And so part of, I think, fascination with mentalism is magic is always one step ahead of science. Magic makes it look like something, and then science catches up to it soon. And I think the recent obsession with mentalism is because mentalists do things that we're all obsessed about doing and having. And with science, we're slowly moving. Like, I don't know how many more years we've got to perform mentalism before people are like, oh, yeah, that's what everyone does. Everyone levitates now.
Right.
Everyone can move objects without touching them.
Or guess what you're thinking.
Yeah, exactly. We've got neural implants now. I can see what you're thinking.
It's even in the video
floating.
games. I'm playing Starfield right now, and in that video game, you get neuroplants that like help you in business, right? Like help you navigate business. So you can use your neuroplants to maybe, if you and I are making a business deal, I'm able to manipulate you in a certain way. But you can also see that I have the neuroplant implants. So you're able to kind of you're going against that would mean you're able to see my neuroplants because they've outlawed them being internal, because that would be cheating, because effectively that would be creating real magic.
So mentalism is the illusion of being able to do these things, to influence people, to read minds, to read body language. It's all beautiful. It's a beautiful art form. And Oz is a friend of mine. So we jam on tricks. I've known him for a long time.
All right, this is perfect.
And he's throwing the lingo down, jam on tricks.
So
that sounds cool.
And I really I broke down why I'm so fascinated with this, because at the root, and Kostya, you can tell me if I'm wrong.
Slow people have always been fascinated with magic.
You're
like, yeah, it's good.
You're like, yeah. Or you're like, get him, he's a wizard.
Yeah, exactly.
So when you break it all down, it's math and science and psychology, right? At the base of mentalism, right? So it was some of it.
Some of it, yeah, sure is math. But good mentalism, like the kind that Oz performs, there's only a handful of people around the world that perform at that level professionally, that can stand up on stage and command a theater of people and perform this and fool everyone into it. It's a combination of great methods. It's never just one thing where you flip a switch and, the trick works. It's preparation and layering.
And that's what I also wanted to say is, like, yes, you can break down and find out how some of these tricks are done. Well, with the aid of the internet now, which
Amy,
ruins everything, by the way.
About his tricks? Does he come in and show them to you, or do you get sick of that? Like, because I'm sitting here thinking he's talking about like the process and jamming on tricks with his bros, like magic bros, and. I mean, I'm guessing they do that. But like, do you ever? I mean,
you can tell them the truth. Tell them exactly what it is.
Yeah, you can tell. Like, do you like? You're like, oh God, he's
No.
making.
We were talking about this morning. We said, what if they ask this question?
Really?
Wizard.
He knew I was gonna ask it.
I knew you were gonna.
She predicted it. Yeah.
Yeah.
My background's in marketing, and so I have a history of preferring people bring me like final drafts, like give to me like the finished product.
Yeah.
Because before then it's whatever. So sometimes he'll show me things that are not quite done yet.
Okay.
It's much better when it's done.
Yeah.
So that's when I go to my bros and I'm like, all right, let's talk for 3 hours about this insignificant little minor detail.
Nuances, right? It's like, no, do this millimeter, do this.
And then replaying it, doing it again and again. And
yeah.
Okay, what are they going to think? What are they going to think? And then finally, when I bring her a half-baked idea, she's like, either just looks bored or like, what is this? So I have to bring her something when it's good.
Wow,
and then she's able
good for
to
your
say,
craft.
Yeah. It's good. She doesn't put up with like,
Yeah, I like
bring
that.
me something good, then I'll make it better. But don't bring me something that's not done
Yeah, the
yet.
best partners are the ones that elevate you, right?
Yes.
I feel that way with my wife. Yeah, I mean,
I think we do that for each other.
done.
We're very lucky that way.
Kostya,
I love that.
I just thought of this. Will it be offensive to you if I actually tell the listeners how Oz did some of these tricks?
I hope you tell us and you're wrong.
Well, he's done that a lot.
All right,
Kostya knows that.
Kostya doesn't have to say
We've got
whether
a
I
lot
got
of
it
this
right.
wrong.
Okay.
I think
The internet knows.
I don't know, for instance. I mean, we've
Did you look it up?
Yeah, well, I mean,
I
I'm
thought
not
you
smart
tried to
enough.
figure it out on your own.
That's
This
what
makes sense. Okay.
I mean, I tried, but
thought
I
you were
can't
gonna-
figure out anything
I
on
thought
my
you were
own.
going to
Alright,
give your
fair enough.
theories. I didn't think you were
That's
going to
what
go
I
to
thought.
the internet and look it all
No,
up.
but the internet is an extension of my brain now. It's like I'm a
That is not
cyborg.
true.
Everybody's a cyborg. Like the internet
you
gives
could've-
you unlimited
You could
information.
have resisted the urge to type in how it was done.
Well, it's not. The internet couldn't tell me specifically how these tricks are done, but I deep dove into mentalist tricks, and through reading, I'm not joking. I read a lot
I
about.
saw you in there.
I
He had on his reading pants too. He has a specific pair of pants that he has to put on when he reads.
Let's start with this. And this is a clip on social media.
I'll just say this before you dive into the details. I'll just say this to
Yes.
you know.
This is where he tricks you. This is next thing you know, you're
Get
standing
him.
there, you're hypnotized, you're clucking like a chicken.
The secret to a magic trick seems like the most interesting thing until you learn it.
Yes, yes.
Once you learn it, you realize that the actual secret, the mechanics of it, is less than 10% of why the trick works and why people are fooled. So reducing it to a simple method and saying how this is done, I think robs people of the rich understanding of what it takes to actually
thinks you're a bad person.
learn.
Yeah,
That's what I heard. That's what I heard.
Hold on, I love robbing people of their
Of joy.
The
Yeah.
wonder and joy.
Of
in
joy,
their life.
yeah.
You forgot what you were robbing.
But some people,
Rob
some
some brain.
people,
I love robbing joy.
some people like yourself enjoy the methodology. They live on the fact that this is how it's done, and that's a focus of it. So I understand that typically when I'm presenting in front of an audience, there's 30% that's very analytical. There's 30% just loves it, and everyone else is kind of in the middle.
Right.
And I've got to appease all of them. I'm trying to create wonder and joy and delight while acknowledging the fact that you're there in the audience too, being like, how is this done?
Right,
Okay,
right.
'cause I will say this. Once I kind of figured, and who knows, I'm probably wrong, but but once I
All this to be wrong.
I know.
once I kind
That
of
should be the
figured
name
out,
of the show. All this to be wrong.
it made me appreciate more of what Oz was doing because when I first watched it, I thought he did it a different way. An easier way than what actually, apparently, from what I read, happened.
Okay. Do you
Okay,
want to take
so
the one in
then
question?
let me give you the
Yeah,
exact
okay.
opposite warning of that, because I have the same exact thing where people give me credit for powers I don't have. Because what mentalism does is creates this superhuman ability that you can do things like a super memory or super perception or reading body language. I think that's a real danger in thinking that those principles are real and that they can be used to advance your life or to, help you negotiate with people. They're tricks, and they really are simple tricks, well layered. So there's a danger in thinking that they're real and there's witchcraft, or they're real and I can do this to manipulate others. No, neither one is true. These are tricks, and we don't have the information. When you watch magic, that's why they work. Is you're not seeing something, you're not hearing something, you don't have the full
Yes.
information.
Okay, so
Okay,
Oh,
I like
God.
that. I
Here
like
we
that.
go.
if you look up the Aaron Rodgers, like when Oz goes to Aaron Rodgers
His
and
career
does
disappeared.
his final
Yeah, I know.
trick,
Made his calf explode.
it seems insane how he does it. So basically, he gives Aaron Rodgers a deck of cards. He said, like, look through the cards, pick out any card you want by looking through it, right? So Aaron Rodgers picks a card, right, whatever, memorizes it out of the deck. He's like, all right, now hold the deck in your hands. Like, Oz didn't touch it. Then he's like, all right, then he does this, which is misdirection, where he's like red, black. Then he's like diamonds, hearts, clubs, spades. He's like, all right, is your card a diamond? And then Aaron Rodgers is like, yes. And he's like, 3 of diamonds. And then
And then Aaron Rodgers' legs exploded.
Aaron Rodgers, he's like, that's what it was, So then I was like, so the misdirection was that he looks at him and he's like, red, black, hearts, diamonds, clubs, spades, and then he's acting like he's implanting things. So how I looked it up, and there's
Okay.
this thing in mentalism called the 3 of diamonds trick, and apparently if you make the diamond sign with your hand while you're talking to someone and say things in spurts of 3,
Then you can almost will the person to pick one. Okay,
and,
all right.
and then apparently 3 of diamonds is some sort of card that automatically gets.
What if I pulled my shirt up right now and written on my chest it said 3 of diamonds? Whatever, that would be.
And
I
so-
should have got.
I
I'm
don't
such
need
a bad
Kostya.
at radio. I should have already talked to Kostya
Yeah.
off air and already made this happen. I should have done some sort of hoodwink thing where I turn around, I take my shoe off, I hold it up, and written inside my
So,
shoe it says 3 of diamonds.
I don't even want Kostya to tell me if I'm right or wrong. This is what I want
Oh my God!
to
Now
know.
you really wasted his time. We didn't even need him here.
Because I don't want to expose the tricks of the mentalist.
Yeah, no, I got you, I got
it took me 10 or 15 minutes to find this on the internet. But what I do want to know is, as Kostya, you do this as well. What's the backup plan? So I
bet he has more than one.
Apparently, if you watch this trick, it has to be the 3 of diamonds because the cards turn into a goldfish. It's the whole thing.
Yeah, it's a lot more. There's a lot more to it.
And so there's not many outs that I'm spotting that it and because of this mentalist trick, I looked up and it had 3 of diamonds. The whole thing revolves around it being a 3 of diamonds. But there is a certain probability that Aaron Rodgers looks at, because the cards he's looking through, it's not all 3 of diamonds.
Right.
There's other ones that he can pick.
What
So
is?
how does that? What's the out? Is he screwed if it's not the 3 of diamonds?
He's got options, huh? You know.
So there is options. There is other ways out.
I can tell you that if he and I listen to what you just described, right?
That was a mess, by the way.
Oh my God.
I love you, man, but whatever you were saying, my wife is in there. My wife's like, my brain hurts.
You make the diamond sign with your hands, and you staccato through like what you're talking to him. You do in the short burst.
You found an inkling of a method popularized by Darren Brown, who's an incredible British magician.
I watched him do it,
and he's got brilliant techniques, and certainly
this is
there's this great myth, right? That I can look at you and I can do this for you, and I can implant thoughts simply by gestures. Isn't that a beautiful thought? The fact that I can say, "Don't you feel happy today?" Right? And suddenly, like, is there a mythology
to that? I feel happy.
Certainly, right? Maybe there's something to it.
Yeah.
But doesn't the method even sound better than probably the reality?
It does. It does sound.
All I want to say is that if Oz and I were to listen back to your description, we would be laughing and loving it, because it's proof that when people talk about magic tricks afterwards, they implant their own way, like they stop their brain from figuring things out because they make up things that didn't happen or did happen as
That's
realities.
what you do for everything.
You have no chance.
Right. That's Tom's argument method.
You have no chance of figuring it out.
Okay,
I promise you.
If that worked, we would only eat at the restaurants Kostya wanted to eat at. We would only go to the places he wanted to.
Oh, right. I didn't even think about that.
So there
do you have to be weary of that? Like, have you ever thought do you have to swear to you on marriage that I will never use my powers of influence?
My fake mentalism
I've
powers?
never thought about that. Like, you just saying that makes me think about, like, how...
Right.
I mean, not that it's not... I mean, Kostya's a wonderful person. He wouldn't do that.
But I'm sure some people do,
I'm
right?
sure there are tons of people that, like, just like you were saying, it is a dangerous thing. Somewhere in America, there is a magic couple like you guys, but it's the evil version, and the guy is not a good guy, right? And he thinks that he can weaponize his influence techniques to manipulate his partner, right?
By now, she has learned everything and turned it on her and on me.
Yeah, you
I was
probably...
going to say, luckily his powers are contagious.
Yeah, I was going to say naturally, and even with the book, it feels like the magic is, infectious. It's getting on the family, you know? Like, which is good.
Next trick I figured out. So there's a puzzle trick in this where basically he takes Mecole Hardman, former wide receiver from Kansas City Chiefs, now plays for the Jets. He brings him out, and then I studied this trick because essentially he asks him to narrow down puzzle pieces. Like, he dumps out a bunch of puzzle pieces on the table.
Yeah.
And then and this is how I believe he does this part of it. He asks him, pick a side, left or right. And he knows where the puzzle piece is. So when he picks a right side, it's either discard that side or keep the side.
Right.
And then through 50-50, where it seems like he's making his own decisions, he basically gets down to two puzzle pieces, and he knows which one's the right one. Then he's like, all right, close one hand. And whatever hand he closes, he either says, now throw that piece away or keep the piece that your hand's closed, basically tricking the person thinking that he's making the decision, but Oz is really manipulating it the whole way because he knows and then he puts the puzzle piece on the Jets. It was the last piece that fit, and then so this is the trick I can't figure out.
Well, hold on a second. So, linguistic deception, right? That's a great method.
Yeah.
But you're running through this, and I think Oz would be upset because he'd say, "No, I worked way harder than that." And if you were to replay that trick, you would, because a lot of people say that to me. I do the trick, right? I do this trick that's like layered in methods. It's got physical, psychological methods. I got multiple outs. Everything is set to go. And at the end, person goes, "Oh yeah, you just made me verbally do that." And I'm like, no, that's
it's
silly.
Offensive, Tom. You just offended.
That's the easiest.
Come on, it's never coming back.
you
minimized
10,000 hours of practice and minimizing it to nothing.
Yeah, because if you were to watch that clip again, you'd realize that he cancels out that method because he knows that other magicians, his friends, right? We're gonna watch it.
Yeah,
he wants to fool us
the most
too.
critical are gonna be you
And
guys.
he thinks deeply about methods,
Yeah.
so he's not gonna do. I mean, linguistic deception is great, right? You do it to your children, right? Do you want to brush your teeth before or after you shower? Right? You're presenting false options
You
for
just
them.
got me. I want to brush my teeth.
The power of words is incredible. So I know you said that that's a possible method. And when someone shows me a trick that's a simple trick, it will use that, right? That multiple outs, depending upon what they say, they'll do something different. It's a simple beginner method, but it's also one of the most advanced methods possible in magic. It takes years to master it. But don't think that someone who's going to go on HBO to do tricks for a professional football team is going to use that simple of a method. because you're going to see that on TV and figure that out. So watch it again, you'll be fooled.
He's saying you're falling right into the dum-dum trap.
I did the same trick.
I'm close.
Here we go.
Hold on, pause. That is
It's gotta be
absolutely
because there's a reality
It
that
doesn't gotta be. He
Well, yeah.
literally just said it doesn't gotta be.
Because when you take out supernatural ability,
Yeah.
then it's gotta be
It's
reality
just
in some
really-
way.
It's good magic.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
I
I
did
know.
the same exact trick 10 years ago for a local art gallery for an opening, and they had a feature piece, and I did the puzzle trick. It's a couple decades old probably. The idea has been passed around in magic. O's used a completely different method than I did. Fooled me when I first watched it, and I'm sure if you watched my version, you wouldn't know. You wouldn't see the difference. That's a beautiful thing. Lay people, the audience, is not supposed to know methods exist. They're just supposed to see the effect, which is that you picked one puzzle piece out of 1,000, and it matched the missing piece on this artwork.
Yep, yeah.
That's a beautiful effect.
And
there's lots of ways to
insane.
do it.
So there are multiple ways to do it, and even when I don't know if you watched, did you watch this episode?
Yeah.
Okay, did you know how he did it? All of them.
If I just know how hard he works on his methods and on fooling people, and when you're going on national television, the requirement it takes, that I can appreciate what he did, what he's
Right.
done, and I just know him as a friend.
Yeah.
And so that's why I can safely tell you he's an incredible magician, and the label mentalism is so much more interesting to people because it seems real. You can say, oh, it's not card tricks, it's mentalism. But in reality, just for the sake of humanity, I have to make it clear that there is no superpowers.
Yeah.
You're being deceived by an artist really well.
Yeah,
so,
I love it.
So here's the trick I can't figure out, and I need Kostya to at least give me some sort of hint.
Okay.
So after Mikol puts the last puzzle piece, and then it's the Jets puzzle, and then everyone's like, "Oh,
Yay, it's a puzzle of us.
And then
Bro, job.
so within the puzzle's sitting on an easel, right? And he's standing in front. There's nobody behind it, so it's impossible to mess with the actual puzzle and easel itself. Then he asked Mikol, like, all right, I need you a Super Bowl prediction. Who's going to be in the Super Bowl? And then Mikol's like, all right, 49ers versus the Jets, of course. He's like, I wish he'd pick someone else.
it would have been funnier if he like had nothing. Don't even pick our own team.
Pick a different AFC.
Yeah, yeah.
He's like, the Bills.
The real impressive thing would have been if
The
Mikol,
Chiefs,
if Mikol had said something like,
yeah.
I think Aaron's going to get injured. And like, I'm like, oh my God, this guy's a true mentalist.
Or he accidentally says the Chiefs because he won 2 Super Bowls with the
True,
Chiefs. Anyway,
that's
but,
true.
So he says the 49ers and the Jets, right? Which that I can kind of like, of all the NFC teams to pick, the 49ers had the highest probability
That's
in
a
the
good
gamble.
bet.
You know, they
Jets not so good.
You know, if he's picking the Commanders, then it would be real. But so anyway, so then he's like, all right, now what do you think the final score is going to be? And he's like 31-21, right? So he's like, all right, 49ers, Jets, Jets 31, 49ers 21. And then he's like, yes. Then he turns around the puzzle piece and it says 49ers, Jets, Super Bowl 31-21. Right?
Blew your wig off.
It blew your wig off, didn't
I
it?
was like, what? Because I didn't see him, and it's a football player, so.
Don't yell at our guests.
Okay, yeah, because I could understand if this is a non-football player, like you're only going to think of certain scores that make sense, you know. But with a
The
football
subtle smile from Kostya when he realized that you could not figure it out.
Yeah, he loves it. He loves it.
Wow.
But he also knows, Kostya knows that how much we love Matt. Like
I love
We love it. We're your guys, man. I love it. I'm like, oh, I'm so stupid.
Because the 3 of Diamonds card trick, like you could look at the
is the
31-21 Super Bowl thing. I scoured the internet. I looked up Mentalist.
He's not going to tell you how it. But did you know? Do you know how it's done? Do you think?
So to the point, 30% of the audience, I said, is a skeptical. So 1 out of 3 is like the most skeptical person here.
Yeah.
2 of you are having fun and you love magic.
Yeah.
No, you're not going to find it on the internet because, again, he's going on TV. He's going to be creating,
It's like
layering
new
things.
stuff, yeah.
You don't want to be anything to be Google searchable when you're doing this stuff.
So
Which has to be getting harder and harder,
Yeah.
right? To like keep the secrets of magic.
Yeah, for sure. Because
Well,
anybody
I mean,
can search anything online right now and find out.
I think that's why it's important that, like Amy's book, the fact that, like you're making, like at least talking about, magic in a way that kids can, I hope that kids think magic's cool. You know,
I think it's still really popular.
I think it is. I mean, like my daughter seems to have the same thing that I have when it's on. I notice she'll just be like walking through. If I'm watching it, it'll just.
I think Fool Us had a big thing to do with that.
Yeah.
That was the first
I'm
family
glad you said
programming
that,
TV show that brought the kids and the parents together. They showcased all kinds of magic. It had that variety. So I think that whoever is like a teenager now, 10, 11, 12, getting into it, they were probably 6, 7, 8 when they started watching that show with their parents because it's been on for a decade now.
It's such a good show, too.
And I think that helped to make magic positive for kids.
And then I would say, like, also your other shows, like your America's Got Talent, AGT.
Yep.
I was going to say AGT, and then I was like, don't say AGT. You're too old. You have to say the real name. But
there's a renaissance. You know, when I started the Team of Magicians here in Orlando in 2010, I saw that there was a few shows, like theatrical shows in magic, but there was more popping up. Now there's like a renaissance. You can travel from Chicago, Midwest, Los Angeles, and there's dozens of these small magic theaters where you can see different magicians. And these venues didn't exist 10, 15 years ago. So even in the public right now, they're buying more tickets to magic shows. People are seeing Piff when he comes to town, Justin Willman.
Yeah, I don't think it matters that the secrets are on the internet. I think culturally, people are much more difficult to impress in general, and magic is one of those few types of entertainment that remain that's still impressive to people. Like, it's still something that people are excited about in a way that other things are like, whatever, I can stay home and watch that.
I almost think it's more impressive, kind of going back to what Sam was saying, because like I think you, since we've met you and you've become friends with us, and you so graciously come in and tell us stuff, and we you know, and we act silly, I think you've become more important, like, with what you do, because I feel like as people believe in, like, I see a lot of people that believe in things that I absolutely know are fake. You know what I mean? Like, it's a weird time, right? So I think because you've always had this demeanor where you're like, no, I know what I'm doing. I'm going to tell you what I'm doing, and I'm still going to trick you, but I want you to know, kind of like what you just said, you know, I want you to know that this is all above board and it's a positive thing, and and I'm just doing art. I think it's more precious now. I don't see, I don't know. I don't even know how to articulate what I'm saying. Maybe I'm just talking in circles.
There's only 2 ways that I think
here we
you
go.
can do it.
It was really all I was doing was trying to protect you
only
from that.
2
I was
ways.
just trying to protect you from that.
You're trying to move
That's all you
on.
heard.
Yeah.
That's
You're
all you
talking
heard.
about the value of truth and misinformation, the importance of
Yeah.
acknowledging the fact that we can all be fooled and deceived.
Yes.
And there's a lot of misinformation out there, and magicians who remind us of that, I think, are an important part. Now back to methods.
So there's 2 ways that it could only be. I've thought about this for hours and hours.
And he's done right there.
and I was like, all right, well, it's either A, that somehow there was a pre-interview with Nicole Hardman before they shot this, and they O's just like basically was talking to him before small talk, and then somehow got some information out of him that would lead him to believe that this score that he would predict the score, or so either he pre-implanted it to Nicole, or there's some sort of technology that I'm not aware of in this easel where the puzzle, it looks like it's drawn in magic marker, right?
I think that's cheating. I don't know.
Well,
I don't think that's it.
And then it's digital in some way. Okay, I know I sound like a crazy person here.
So I don't think that's it. That's the part that I always get
There's an
disconnected from.
assistant.
Is like, it seems like as soon as magic starts to get a little more digital or a little more iPad-y or a little more this, that, and the other thing, I start to shake my head. I'm like, I don't know. I'd never think that, because I always think that anybody could almost do that, you know, but in magicians, they're dancing with something that's way more dangerous. Humans, right? There's no, I mean,
listen, the easiest explanation is usually the
Occam's
explanation.
razor.
Are there, like, for lack of a better term, digital magicians that try to do what the traditional magician would do, but just use, like, it's kind of like
more technology.
It's kind of like
based.
using the earpiece in baseball to get the signs, you know, like.
I can break that down in maybe in 2 ways, in that because this is a new term, right? New kind of understanding of digital magician, and you can talk about
I made that up.
methods or effect. And I think that surely there's digital methods, just as there's always been. Magicians have always used technology, mirrors and magnets before the general public did. Magicians were onto these things. So certainly method-wise, magicians are creative using technology. But more so, I think, in the new world, the effects, there's some magicians calling themselves like digital magicians because they're using props like visually, like iPhones and iPads, to kind of show themselves as futuristic magicians. I don't know. It's still all the same. It's still all the same method. It's just a different way of presenting it as I'm a digital magician. I can say I'm a virtual digital magician because I do magic through the virtual medium, but the magic that I do is still psychological in nature and sleight of hand. So it's a play on words. Kind of like when people ask, what's the difference between a magician and an illusionist, where they think there's a big difference, or magician and mentalist, but in reality, there is no difference. It's all a type of magic, a kind of magic.
And I kind of, with me trying to guess all these things, I'm kind of doing it on purpose just to show that.
Don't reveal the magic.
No.
What are you doing?
Well, because I imagine that other people are sitting watching, doing the same thing I am, where they're obsessed with figuring it out, and then start looking it up, and then want to simplify what these
there are still tricks that drive me crazy. I still like the David Blaine, Ricky Gervais needle through the arm thing. Like I go back and watch old magic clips.
What Kostya's doing, what O's is doing, and then we want to look it up and a 15-minute Google search, and then think that we figured it out. When there's so much more into the presentation, and I'm impressed just by the smoothness in which they pull these tricks without getting a hint of nervousness or whatever. They say, like an insane professional salesman going through, and then I imagine weaving in and out of having outs of trick, like this doesn't go a certain way, this is going to go, and then seamlessly doing the trick that way, because I think they're changing direction during the trick live, and we can't even notice.
That's a part of what I teach. That is exactly what I teach. When I talk to business people, I teach them to think like a magician, and a huge part of that is preparation and perception. Is understanding who's everyone that's perceiving you, what are they going to perceive, preparing for multiple outs, for the challenges, for the things they're going to say. Like, to me, what magic really teaches is the art of paying attention to other people. And I think that, to me, the greatest lesson in magic is perception, is that I'm not doing this for real, but I'm creating an illusion, and when I'm doing this for an audience, everyone has a different reality in their own heads, and I'm responsible for helping them create that. And that includes the stories they're going to tell afterwards. So part of what we do as magicians is, Oz and I will get on the phone, we'll talk about a trick, and it'll be like, okay, well, can it be done digitally? Oh, well, people are going to think this or see that. No, that's a bad method. Can it be done, hey, what about this method from the 1800s that used meters and this? Okay, let's try it this way. And then you talk your way through it. You try things out, you test them on audiences, and then eventually you've got this great illusion that maybe after 100 times doing it, you're like, I think I finally figured out what I'm doing.
Do you guys do this with parenting at all? Do you guys use the techniques to...
I think so. I think
because you said something really cool there, where it was like a variation of like almost being in the moment. Like it's like like do you are being available for people? What did you say? Oh man, I
have a great example of
please,
using magic,
if you don't mind.
Parenting. So one of the things that Kostya teaches about is shaping the way people recollect their experience. So the magic trick is one way and one reality, and then how do they explain the story of the magic trick after the moment is done. Okay. And so that is definitely a concept we use in parenting all the time. For example, we recently went on a cruise. A cruise with 2 toddlers can be a mildly stressful experience, which it was, but it was, also very nice, also mildly stressful. Afterwards, we put together a highlights reel. And so the story we tell about the cruise are all wonderful, positive memories. And so that is what the story is for the children. Afterwards. It's all about the perception, right?
Yeah.
If you're going to invest the money in the trip, invest your time into what is the memory and the story of it after the fact for your children.
Perfect example.
That's what I do with my Instagram.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I love that.
But then you do the opposite on the show.
Yeah,
it's really bizarre.
Well, we have found that people visually, you don't want to see horrible images, but comedically, me falling down the stairs is always going to beat me walking up the stairs. I mean, we figured that out a long time ago. With the negativity, a lot of our comedy was rooted. I used to get yelled at the station when I worked there, under the company about like, oh, you're so negative, or the things you say. But I figured out very early on that most people in their cars, like driving around, they want to hear my misfortune and laugh at it because it lightens up their day a little bit, And as long as I'm okay with that and able to give them that, what's the big deal? It's okay to laugh about making mistakes. We've been doing it professionally for 14 years now, so.
The optimism and I went on a trip and it was unbelievable at the end.
Let's talk about your book a little bit too. And are you going to do another one at all? Do you think you'll do another book?
Maybe one day.
Yeah. So tell us us a little bit about the book, because we talked about it before, but I'd like to refresh the memories of our...
And it is Hocus Pocus season.
Yeah, it is Hocus Pocus. It's a good tie-in. Thank you, Sam. It is time for Hocus Pocus. So, how long has the book been out? And tell us just a touch about it to refresh our guys' memories.
Sure, I'll go without these.
Yeah, just throw them on the ground.
Yeah, so Hocus Pocus Practice Focus, I really started to notice that I would go to a lot of magic conventions with Kostya, and I realized that there were some women at these conventions, but there really weren't a ton of women at these conventions. As we know, most magicians are men, and so I started thinking, well, why is that? And I realized that there just aren't enough role models, especially for very young children. And so this book is really intended to show particularly young girls that they can be magicians, because children in general, they start to get their ideas about what society is and what is available to them when they're really little. I mean, like 4 and 5 years old. By the time they're 7, it's like, gender roles are cemented for 7-year-olds. So this book is really intended to show young girls that they can be
more than just the assistant.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And in the book, there's a professional magician who happens to be a woman. And so that's a key part of it. Though the book is really applicable to any child, no matter their gender. There's key messages of practice and focus, obviously, but also persistence and practice in anything that you undertake.
I used you guys as an example, but I don't have the book, but we've talked about it, but I did use it to spur on Maisie with the practice thing and dance, because it's super important with the repetition of do it again, and understanding that. So it works really, really well. I think this is super duper cool in the idea that, like, as a young boy, and this is something that I don't think a lot of kids are going to get to experience, but little boys, I got to go to the magic shop. And that was like the most fun thing you could do, is to go to the magic shop. And there are no more magic shops. The only last one I know of was the one in St. Augustine, where we used to have a BDM that worked there. But, like, are there freestanding magic? There's
still one in Daytona. There may be one in Cocoa Beach as well. The one in Tampa just closed down, but they are very rare because you can buy anything online. But certainly that was such a staple of my life too.
Yeah, it was cool.
There was one little one on Colonial that I used to Magelane's Worlds of Magic and Costumes. In a little rundown shack on by Old Cheney Highway.
Yeah.
I used to go there as a kid.
They're like scuba shops are like that now. Because everything's, you look around, you'll drive past some scuba shop, there'll be some old man in there selling, one mask.
You still need to fill your tanks.
Yeah.
You can't do that online.
That's true. If only you had to fill your magic tanks, you'd be fine.
Yeah, you had that mentorship there. That's a big part of, I think, these days what may be missing for the new generation is seeing somebody in person. Because when that happens, you just get hooked on it.
Yeah, it was. And I think we've talked about this before. I walked in, there's the old man, slow day. Come here, I'll show you. It was like this little stick that had jewels on it. One color on the back is pink, and then it had like red, yellow, pink, green, blue, and you do the little slide of the twist. As you twist it, it looks like it's double-sided with jewels, and then I rub my finger across it and flip it over, and they're all pink. I mean,
and most of the shops back in the day, they weren't like kid friendly. So if a kid was brought in because their dad brought him in,
right.
So it's true, it was a boys' club, and I think a part of that kind of continued. There's many reasons why it continued to be that way, and luckily it's changing now.
Yeah, I think I'm also surprised that some really good businesswoman didn't think in some time. I mean, it wouldn't work as good now as it would have like in the 90s, like when Baywatch and things were popping, and maybe somebody did. But I always thought, like, why didn't some like really attractive magician mix it in with like almost mix the sex into it?
No, they did. In the 90s,
did they
that
do
was
that?
Melinda, the first lady of magic.
I figured you'd have a person that tried to do that.
Let's be realistic. There have been successful female magicians every year and every decade for the last 100 years.
Yeah.
It's just that they're not a part of history and part of lore the way Houdini and Copperfield are. But there's plenty of magicians successful who no one knows about, and that includes male and many female magicians. And as I'm starting to book more female magicians, I'm also like, oh, why haven't I heard about you? Why didn't I know about you? You've been doing this for 30 years just like I have. Ooh. Wow, you're a great professional. Yeah. So I think it's just a part of that. It's changing in the culture where just more women are doing magic.
That's awesome.
Coach, I got 2 quick questions before we go. One is like mentalism. Does it change depending on culture? Like, I know language has to do with it, but like, let's say if England and the United States or Australia or whatever, as long as you speak the same language, is there any difference in how a certain
if you went to Haiti and did mentalism right now.
No. But
Yeah, that'd be bad.
I mean, or is it just the human brain will go towards what I guess
we're
the
more
trick-
alike than we are different.
Yeah.
I mean, this is something deep. I can tell you that there's some cultures that are more superstitious, and like I grew up in the Soviet Union, and they have so many superstitious beliefs, and so people are more apt to believe in things when they have those beliefs. One of the things that I teach in this workshop that I do for businesses is how to use a little pendulum, and the pendulum is a classic example of how you can fool yourself. And there's studies that show that those that are successful at using a pendulum are more psychologically inclined to believe that they're influenced by outside forces. So a certain psychological type, a certain personality type, is more willing to believe in mentalism and go with it, just like they are for hypnosis.
Okay.
And so part of it is really when I'm presenting and performing, as I'm doing magic, and I usually transition into mentalism to make the audience aware of the fact that, hey, I can do magic and I practice, but supposedly we're going to enter a different realm.
Okay,
and we're going to go into mentalism, and I still wink, it's all false, but I'm good at this and I can fool you into thinking it's true, so let's go with this. And then we take them down that path. I think it's an important difference, and I think that I don't know. I have so many thoughts for you, so many ways to take this, and I know I started about the pendulum. People are wondering what is the pendulum, and I brought one just for you.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
Do you have a paper and pen by you there?
Yeah.
Oh, so many papers.
Yeah,
I
oh my
want-
God. It's a
I'll figure
tapestry
this
of
one out.
nightmares over here.
I want you to do this. Draw a plus sign, like a big plus sign, size of your fingers there in front of you.
You know what a plus sign
Okay,
is?
yeah.
Okay.
And
Hold
then,
on.
That's
and
why
then-
I'm here.
Yeah.
Show me how's that look.
Yeah.
Okay, great. And a little lower below that, draw a bigger circle too. Just as,
A circle?
Yeah, just as big.
Oh, you're gonna be as dumb as those NFL players.
I can't
Just as
wait.
dumb.
I'm no,
Me and Cole have a lot in common.
I brought this. I brought this just in case to show you this. You're gonna hold it by the top little bead, okay?
Okay, all right.
And you're gonna hold this above, and you're gonna see which way it starts to swing, whether it goes forward or left and right, or it goes in a circle.
Okay.
Now his hands are very numb. Can you hold something as small as
That's
that?
true.
Yeah. Okay.
He does.
So I'm
have-
gonna hold it over the.
Yeah, hold it over the
Okay.
plus sign. Hold it over the plus
Okay.
sign, and then I just want you to tell me. And what he's doing right now is he's holding a little string with a little bead, and
Yeah,
at the
I'll take a
bottom of it is
picture.
Look at that
hanging
focus.
a little rock. Right? It's this is a theatrical prop.
God, my hands are shaking.
You haven't had your White Claw today.
Someone give me a beer.
This guy.
My God, man.
My Lord.
Okay, so the
Do we have
question
any
right now
vodka out there?
is: it going back and forth or left and right?
It's
It's
okay, hold on.
bouncing up and down.
Hold on.
Now he is, by the way,
It's
he's
going back and forth.
Okay, so I just want you to think back and forth. Just keep on focusing. I know
Okay.
you have to talk, but I just want you to just focus for a second. Just think back and forth, and we'll continue to go back and forth.
Okay.
And then I want you to see if you can make a change and just think left and right. And as you start to think left and right, you'll start to see it slowly. The message gets sent from your brain down your hand.
Oh wow.
And it starts to change direction, and it starts to go left and right.
Yeah.
And you can see it moving, following that sign, going left and right.
yeah.
Now, if you want, move over the circle. So bring the pendulum over the circle.
Okay.
And this time, I just want you to think circles. Just think round.
Oh, yeah,
Think
he's
round.
on.
And as
Think
you're
Oh,
sending the
look at
message,
it go.
it's starting to go in the circle, right?
Uh-huh.
So now people have been using this pendulum for a long time to supposedly talk to the dead, to supposedly receive messages, to all kinds of strange things.
Yeah.
And what you're really doing is it's the ideomotor response is you're sending small neural messages to your fingers, and they're making it move. It's
Oh, man.
imperceptible.
That thing is going around like a he's a
Rodeo.
Yeah, my
Now,
God,
here's the
he's
thing.
like, let
Right
me
now-
ride that donkey.
It's barely moving. Would you try it?
Yeah, yeah,
I want
I'll
you to try it. And I think, based on what I know about your personalities, is that it'll start to move much more. So clear things out of the way. There you go. Hold it.
Everything out of the way.
Yep. You can turn that mic back towards yourself so we can hear you.
Yep.
And then there you go. Make room. And then see
right.
which way it goes. I know you got your phone. There's a lot of tension here. But I want you to tell me, is it going back and forth or left
Oh,
and right?
mine's going.
it's going in the circle.
It's going wild man.
Yeah, see, I told you. Exactly. He's much more willing to be receptive to this idea that other things are influencing him. Same exact thing is
Look at
happening.
mine's going wild.
So there's just a recent psychological study that people who are better at using the pendulum are more willing to their center of life is they're more open
is
and
it
receptive to
whipping
other
around?
ideas. Look,
Yeah.
you see the difference?
Mine's crazy.
Yeah, because Daniel's super emotional and
Yeah,
gets
I am.
affected
I
by
am.
his environment a lot more. I'll just gonna be sitting here stone faced, everybody dying around me, crying or whatever. So
That's it. That's it.
I don't feel great about
So I think
working here now.
what's amazing about this is
Dying around you.
it's not just a trick that fools others as most mentalism does, but you can fool yourself into thinking that you're getting these that someone, a spirit, is controlling you.
I'm
is
smarter than him,
giving
right?
you
Is
these
that what that means?
answers.
I'm smarter.
Yeah, of course.
Is that why like Ouija board works so well?
Yeah,
Or-
ideomotor response. So
We got to get some pendulums in there. I felt automatically. I felt more powerful.
How can I trick our advertisers into like, hey, hold the pendulum over the package you want?
Oh my God. What if we sold
make the
pendulums?
money a circle?
What if we sold pendulums to our listeners? They're so stupid. They'll buy all of them. We have the dumbest listeners. They'll buy anything we tell them to.
Is that why like dowsing rods work?
yes.
Okay, I knew it.
These things are connected. Yes, exactly. But my message to you is that again, it's about we can fool ourselves into believing amazing things that aren't true.
Yeah.
And so we have to be careful. We have to be reminded we're watching mentalism. It's a magic show and it's fun. And when you come into the steakhouse, you come in. I'm going to blow you away. Most of my show is mentalism because mentalism is about you
It's so good.
and about your thoughts and your ideas and emotions. That's why it's more interesting than watching tricks because it's not just like, oh, look how great you are at something you practice. It's how is it possible for you to know this or do this? But to me, the fact that it's a lie is really the more interesting thing.
Okay, last question. I've always wanted to ask you this. So when you get done at the steakhouse and you've done all the tricks and you've had to use outs, I'm sure, because people aren't going to do what you're... Are you freaking tired, man? Like, are you done? Because we do this,
Does it
and
drain
I have to
you?
and I know it's a variation. We call this art, and it's a variation of thinking, right?
I
And
put
we
on the same playing field. there.
Yeah,
I do not.
we are heroes. Everyone knows we are heroes.
Every day
Yeah.
is like a full Christener show for
There's
us.
first responders, and then we're a little higher. Yeah, but no. So are you like just spent? Are you just fine because you've done it so long? You know what you're doing, and it's no big deal.
He's amped.
Yeah, absolutely. When we're done, let's say she's been with me at a show, at the
Yeah.
end of our time, we've interacted with so many people, she's ready to go into a quiet space and like relax and recharge quietly.
Yeah.
I'm ready to go out because I now have this energy from all the people.
You fed off of
And
it.
yes, I'm just like, yeah, let's go.
You're like a real wizard. You're like,
You suck people's souls in.
Listen,
you know, they eat the steak, and then you're like, "Ah."
No, but I look at it as a transfer of energy. That's a trick that I do in my mind before a show. Part of my like pre-show ritual is really to think about the fact that
I love
I'm
that,
stepping
man.
on the stage and all I have is the energy that I'm going to gift to the audience the moment I step out, and then I'm going to get their energy. Boom, that's going to hit me from that stage.
Nice.
And I'm going to feed off that, and then it's a feedback loop. And I find lately we're having a lot more shows captured, and I'm seeing the videos. I'm surprised how many people come up on stage and they just want to give me a hug. There's just like so much positive
It's
love
good
that by the
energy,
time they come up
yeah,
on stage,
yeah.
they're not like, are you going to embarrass me? Because I flat out tell everyone in the beginning of the show, if you're on stage, you're going to be the star. I'm
Yeah.
never going to embarrass you. You're going to have fun. They come up, they give me a hug. They're so excited.
Yeah.
So over 25 years of doing this, I think the greatest thing I've learned in the last 10 years has been to allow the people that want to be on stage and want to be feeling that energy to come up and join me and celebrate. And there's so much positivity in finding the right people.
Listen, go see Kostya.
Yeah.
He's one of the
Yeah.
best in the world to do this,
Yeah,
and he's
you'll-
right here in
Yeah,
Orlando.
we're lucky.
And, go to magicshoworlando.com, get your tickets for the Christener's Magic Show that
Yes.
Kostya's done. We all went as a show. And
We're gonna
I've
go
been
back.
a couple times.
Yeah, we're
Yeah,
gonna go
it's-
back. We're gonna go
yeah,
back for sure.
it was unbelievable. Guys, thanks so much. Amy, we appreciate
Yeah,
it.
check out Amy's website, amykimlat.com. Get those books if you buy in bulk. If you're an educator, you can save a little money that way.
Yeah.
I'm going to give a copy of that. I was going to say his name, but I shouldn't do that. I'm going to give a copy to Andrea. My God, I'm doing it. To Maisie's teacher. Every
it
woman
is.
in my house is the same woman, apparently. My God.
We will
you.
be.
Thank you. Great to see you all.
Yep,
Yeah,
me
good to
too.
see you guys, too.
We'll be right back.
All right, we're still on YouTube and Twitch. But
All right,
we're,
cool.
We're done recording. That was awesome, y'all. Thank you for doing that. Really appreciate the heck out of y'all.
Oh, man, that was so much fun.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love how obsessed you are with these things.
no, I know.
It is real obsession too, because when we were having, you know the story, when we were having tough times at our work, we would just Google
that's right.
magic videos the whole time because we were very dissatisfied with what we were doing before this, and we would just debate about like how do you do that, and we'd watch hundreds of videos all day long.
incredible.
Yeah, it's so fun. Well,
I'd love to autograph these.
Oh, please!
Oh, yeah.
Will you like write down what like children I should make it out to?
Yeah. I can give you a list.
That would be
Actually,
great.
right here. Maisie.
Yeah, it's not even that those methods are wrong.
Max and Tommy. There they are. Mine's the only weird one is Maisie's because she's I don't know why.
These are 3 different books, right? Not all in one book.
Yeah, you can put them all on separate books. Yes.
Yeah, 3
Thank you.
separate books. Just making sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's not that those. I'll tell you, it's not that those methods are wrong, right? It's that
where's
like
this-
you've
where's this
stumbled
guy
upon things that people who love magic.
Sam, where's this go?
That is.
They learn
Monday,
about
1
it.
and
They
2.
got a ripped off PDF copy of a book, and they found this here. Like this idea, right? I remember reading this 20 years ago and practicing trying to implant thoughts by visually forcing objects.
Okay, yeah.
And no, it's not part of my working solid repertoire. Did I try it for 2 years? Yes. I also tried cloud busting for a couple of years.
So, yeah.
You know, there's an art. So there's really interesting methods in magic that are buried in books, and someone online may post something, and then where it goes on after that is interesting. But you've been
All right,
by
guys.
people who don't know enough about magic.
Do you understand what is game?
Oh man, I'm glad you like it, Christine. Yeah, this thing's pretty great.
If you don't see, so you may be right about the thing you said. I won't
We've
say
had
you
ours
may be
for
right
about a
about
year
it,
now,
but
and then this one I picked up last week.
yeah,
And because I saw
I'm
Sean had one, and I was like,
It's insane
man, I
how
gotta
it
put one of
goes.
those behind me. I
Kind
think
of
that's
joke
cool.
Of it, like, this is how he does it. You know, it's like, but that's I respect how hard.
Oh man, we got
and
some
how
people
much
buying
goes
your
into
book
it.
in there. Thank you, folks.
And
We appreciate that.
Trying to simplify it. It's kind of like.
Oh, Christine just bought it, and so
telling
did
people that it's
Jonathan just
ridiculous
bought
to
it.
do
You guys will dig
because,
it.
like,
Yeah,
like
that's
doing it
really cool,
myself,
y'all.
You know, because
cool.
it is
That's great.
I do respect how hard
Books
I
are
mean,
precious
just the
cargo in our
amount of
house
time
because
and practice
both
it
of the
takes,
ladies
and
are avid readers.
The improv is what I'm also fascinated with.
Yeah,
like,
you're absolutely right.
you know, like being able to improv at the time based on so many different probabilities of you know.
And a good mentalist will improv before the trick starts too, because it's like, what's the situation I'm in? Who's watching? What do they know? What have I done for them? Okay, let me use a different method now. So it's not even you don't just change methods in the middle of a trick. You can, you do.
Yeah.
But more so like, okay, what's going to take to fool this person in this scenario?
Yeah.
That's the real skill. No, I just hung out with 1,000 magicians in Vegas, and there was a few mentalism things, and I was just like, oh, that's really beautiful. Like different frameworks of it, like.
Yeah,
it's cool.
I love the fact that like magicians, mentalists, they take like some age-old tricks in magic history and then make them in their own based on kind of the idea of the trick. You know, like Penn and Teller talk about it all the time. It's like I think Teller's like the history magician expert and whatever. You know, and there's all these deep tricks that someone did and they'll just morph them into their own using there's probably like 10 different ways to do it and then like
Yes, and with digital now, that's why these new guys are like, it's an interesting field. I don't like doing magic with explicit iPhones and iPads, but they're marketing themselves as like, I am the digital iPad magician.
Yeah.
And so it sounds cool.
Yeah.
Sounds cool. Great to see you.
Good to see you. And I'm gonna really try and get someone to take us back for the company dinner. Yeah.
We'll continue to push the dinner show stuff, and we'll because we could talk forever. But I just wash my hands. So good seeing you. I'll give you the elbow so you don't feel like the water rushing because that's weird.
Grab that glass out of the way here.
See y'all. Thanks again.
Oh, it was a real pleasure.
Yeah, it's always fun to see you, but you'll probably see us at the steakhouse because that's gonna happen.
Can't wait.
I'm gonna make that happen because
Can
I
I
miss it too much. Yeah,
Let me know. We just put the dates up. I think it's only 3 more shows this year. Just doing it once a month.
Okay, good.
So let me know if there's anyone make it. And
Yeah,
it's
you
always
got
a
it, man.
different magician. We'd love to see y'all.
Thank you so much. Thank you,
you, guys.
Amy. Take care. Cheers. I love the fact that you bring your own sign. It's one of my favorite things of your videos when I see them pop up. I'm like, the sign.
Friday, December 29th. When are we
Sorry.
going?
Well, yeah, I'm okay with you being forceful on that. Totally okay with that.
Hello.
How's it going?
Good to
how are
see
you?
you.
Yeah,
Good
you
to
too.
see you.
Yeah, thanks for coming
Bam.
out the other day.
I just did it. I just shook your hand. I'm gonna shake it again. I don't know. I'm all
You're
over the
good, you're
place.
good.
We're running hot today.
I hear ya.
Come on.
Oh my
in.
God. I'm buying bottled water today. This is embarrassing.
So where am I sitting?
Wherever
Right there's
you're most
good.
comfortable. Right there's fine. You can use that microphone right in front of you.
Okay.
And if you want headphones, they are
Uh,
behind you.
But you don't need them if you don't want to
if
use
you
them.
don't want to have
I
them.
think headphones
I prefer them. It makes me regulate myself typically because I'm
definitely makes a difference.
a loud
And
boy.
we've got
So
different mics.
yeah,
too,
if you
so-
want to use, you can use those right there. On
Oh,
the-
okay,
on
cool.
the-
I didn't know.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
We had we need to grab another 7B at some point, but under.
Well, you're gonna sound like FM radio guy,
That's great.
Yeah.
Where do we want to put this, Tom?
Let's put a Tuesday 3.
Okay.
and I'm gonna see what I am here. but yeah.
You'll
Good
be
voice.
you'll be
Good
yeah,
radio
he has an
voice.
excellent voice. You put the guy with the great voice on the lesser mic.
Oh, well, you haven't heard Jeremy yet.
Hello. Hello.
I heard me though. And I was like, hi everybody, let's talk.
Just pull that mic closer to you there, Jeremy.
Yeah, Jeremy, get about an inch off of it, my friend.
Alrighty.
You can
Don't be afraid of it.
You can
Got
pop
it.
that mic. You can pee.
Oh, yeah,
pop
yeah.
on it.
yeah, that one's a little more forgiving. Than,
Right.
Okay.
I
Right.
took the better one. I'm sorry.
No, it's easy to.
Ruined the
there's-
interview.
Yep.
I'm joking.
Matt's
Okay.
our star
Make
here.
sure we got everything here. All right, Mr. Van.
Yep.
Would you like to begin?
Sure.
Here we go. 3, 2.
Welcome back to A Corporate Time. We've got Jeremy and Matt in from the Orange County History Center.
Yeah, let's get into some history, dog.
We're going to talk about an event going on October 7th to celebrate the life of Sam Rivers, a jazz legend, and he ended his career in Orlando, and that's what I want to talk to Matt about and
Yeah,
Jeremy.
man.
So how you guys doing?
Fantastic.
Thanks for being
Great.
here, y'all.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Really do
Thank you so
appreciate you
much.
being here. It's also very cool to be able to hear just the name Sam Rivers again. Super awesome to be able to come in here and talk about the history of certain musicians that a lot of people may or may not know resided within our wonderful town of Orlando here.
Sure.
So how did this whole thing come about? How did we pick Sam Rivers? I know it's his 100th birthday, which ties in, but tell us how it started.
Yeah, how did this come about?
Yeah, so the majority of the sort of the catalyst of the idea for this kind of was born out of our figurehead exhibit that we currently have,
Yes.
which I know both of you came
Love
to check
it.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we appreciate that. But yeah, so Sam was sort of in that circle in some ways. Of course, he was had a legendary career kind of before he even came to Orlando. But the clubs that he was playing, the sort of community that he ran into, and I know Matt has a lot of insight into that. But from our perspective, Sam was sort of tied into that. We had some photos of Sam, some posters of Sam that even though, jazz music isn't necessarily what you think of, I guess, when you're talking about sort of the underground alternative scene, it very much became that in a lot of ways. And a lot of the people who would go to the shows, of that era became fans of Sam or had already had some appreciation of
I'll
Sam.
tell you my journey because
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
you're talking about me. I think what you just said is me. So hanging out, working nights with Drew Garabo, producing the show. Anthony Cole comes up. I believe he was playing in the band Cow, maybe, or maybe that wasn't his band, but I think he was
Sounds
playing.
right.
I think he was playing drums. We are tagging along to, we're done with the show, 11 at night. We go out, and they're like, "Come along, Sam Rivers is playing here," and I'm like, "I don't know who Sam Rivers is," and they're like, "You don't know who Sam Rivers is? Well, let us introduce you to one of the most historic saxophone players. Like here, come to and watch.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
Sam Rivers. Here are friends of mine, young people backing him up." I'm like, why is this super young band backing up this jazz legend? And then I start deep diving, and this is before Spotify. This is before Apple Music. I wasn't able to just grab any Sam Rivers you could find. You had to hunt. You had to ask. You had to get it. So that's kind of how I came to know Sam Rivers. So I'm still a newer listener of Sam Rivers because I didn't know about that.
And
So
I'm an idiot. I thought it was the basis for Limp Bizkit.
yeah,
so-
no, that's
That
totally
does
fine.
come up
That's
on the
totally
Google
fine.
search. So.
So I guess importantly, we should ask, Matt, how did you become a part of the Sam Rivers story?
Oh gosh. Okay, so I'm a jazz nerd. I started buying jazz records in the end of the 70s as a teenager.
Nice.
And I moved to Orlando in 1981, and Sam moved here in 1991. And I was listening to WCF's jazz show, and one of the hosts says, Sam Rivers moved to Orlando. And I remember this is a moment. I remember where I was. I was like
You're geeking out, right?
lifting weights. I was living with my two brothers,
You're
right?
lifting weights.
To jazz? Wow.
And
Really
my,
gets you
muscles
pumped.
my muscles are smooth.
That threw me for a loop because
It did.
you started. You're like, I'm a jazz nerd. I'm like, all right, check. I thought that. That's what I would draw if you told me to draw
yeah.
a jazz nerd. And then lifting weights, I didn't.
Yeah,
have a
so you're
good-
working out, you're
joking.
listening to the jazz, and then he says that.
barbell.
Okay.
And like screech. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding. I literally stopped my workout because I had Sam Rivers records in the next room. And like, this doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah,
Why-
Orlando not really known for its jazz. Yeah.
I mean, we do have a jazz scene, but the idea that he's such a unique character in the history of jazz. I mean, we could just thumbnail it by saying that, okay, here's a guy who was in the Navy in World War II, was working nights. He was based in Viejo, California, working as a quartermaster in the U.S. Navy.
Okay.
And he's gigging at night already during the 40s. So the late 40s, he leaves the Navy. He is playing with Jimmy Witherspoon. He'll play with B.B. King. Eventually, he will play tenor saxophone with Billie Holiday. We'll move into we'll move into 1964. He joins Miles Davis Quintet in 1964. Leaves that, gets a record deal on Blue Note Records directly after that. Starts playing with maybe the most apex, what we would call, avant-garde piano player of all time in jazz, Cecil Taylor, in the late 60s. And we can keep marching up. Our interface in Orlando first with Sam was when he was here with Dizzy Gillespie Quintet at the end of the 80s. And this is this trip that he decides, through an interface with musicians, he's going to move to Orlando. But so what we have is a character who is clearly comfortable playing the blues, can back up maybe the apex jazz torch singer of all time. Of all time.
Best of the best.
Can play avant-garde music. There's very few musicians in the history of jazz that are that Gumby at playing jazz and blues.
Like a Swiss Army knife of jazz.
Absolutely. So, I just couldn't believe it happened.
I love your excitement for this too, man. Like, because when I get excited about something, I start to slap my legs, and you're doing it, and you're getting me excited about it.
I had no idea that this was ever going to happen. So I bump into him at an art event, and he just walks in with a early trio of his in Orlando, and they play, and I meet him.
That's got to blow your mind.
Yeah, and my thing was, how would I get involved? Was like, I just wanted to see him play.
Right.
I just wanted concerts. I wasn't trying to like rule the world. He was going to be here, and I just wanted.
You were just a fan.
I was a fan, and I come from the underground music scene in the 80s. I was part of the whole figurehead scene, by the way, and I'm just so happy that the History Center did that figurehead show. It is just so deserved.
History Center's killing it, man.
Yeah.
Like, it's a fun place to be. We got
it.
punk rock there. We got, like, it's just fun.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of great history there.
Yeah.
The vibe is good. We're doing this with Sam. I mean, like, I'm digging the idea that we're doing something, or the History Center saying, like, I'm throwing myself in there. Like,
don't take any credit for
I know,
this.
I can't say, but
I say we all the time.
I know. I felt it. That was
No matter what.
Tom you were hearing there. That's his
yeah.
influence. But I do feel like it's good to stop occasionally and recognize the things that we do have in the city that are amazing, and this is one of them. Like, I very much do cherish that time of the I got to see him. You know what I mean? Like, before, that's a big deal, but I didn't know how big of a deal is. And I think that this, being able to be a part of this now will give me what I needed to kind of put the pieces together to say, like, did you see what you were a part of? Did you even understand what you were getting the chance to casually just walk around him, see him?
Well,
have him come to the station.
Right. And this is really, I think, where History Center understands, Jeremy and Pam understand.
Right.
That
Shout out to Pam. Love you, Pam.
This is a people's thing. This isn't just, we had a jazz legend in Orlando up until the time of his transition.
Sure.
It's that he became such a central part of the music community in Orlando. And people were incredibly invested in this and would come out again and again. So we went from, I can tell you from the very beginning, we went from a niche thing where there was, 40, 50 people coming out to where there would be 400 and 500 people coming out. So clearly we have gotten through the nerds like me, and we have gotten into another several strata of music fans.
Well, Matt, how did you become Sam's manager? Like, I mean, we got to the point where you saw him, and like, how does that transition?
His voice is sucking me. It's like we're doing a music podcast. I'm like, tell me more.
Yeah.
It's Stone Soup. A total Stone Soup thing. So I just wanted to get him some shows in town so I could see him play.
Okay.
And little by little, it was, can you do this? Can you do this?
That's
And it
exactly
just-
what Faraday said. Faraday said he did
Yeah.
it. The quote on the wall in the exhibit is he was just doing this because he was selfish. He wanted to see these bands.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's the same. That's the quotes written in the exhibit. I
Yeah.
think.
I
right?
love doing selfish things. Maybe I could be a star too.
You came to the right show. No, so
sorry.
like you're getting him some shows, and then you're starting to see though that these shows are getting.
It took a few years.
Yeah, yeah.
So I would say by the time we got to, 94 and 95, a thing happened. Like this moment happened, and the word was out, and this became a much bigger event. Now, there was some sort of little manipulations. There was a crew of kind of a music production crew in town called Eighth Dimension. They did a down-tempo music, hip-hop music.
Eighth Dimension. That was Qbert.
Q-Burn's Abstract
Q-Burn's
Message.
Abstract's Message and
DJ BMF.
BMF. Greg. Yeah.
Pimp Daddy Nash. I mean, so this whole crew of people.
That is my age too. Those are
Right.
all my guys.
So we started to work a little bit with them. And there was this moment where, we ended up doing, I think, 3 Sam Rivers shows with DJ BMF on turntables. We did one with Q Burn's Abstract Message. And it drew in this electronic music, down-tempo, hip-hop sort of Venn
it had
diagram group,
that
right?
hip-hop electric funk kind
Right.
of a vibe. Yeah.
And Sam was already there, even though he played with Billie Holiday. He was already there.
It's like
right?
having the sample walk into the room.
Exactly.
That was the vibe. It was like,
No, that's
okay, so
perfect.
all of these guys are like enjoying the music. I mean, BMF is the guy that got me. He taught me how to. Well, he didn't physically teach me, but he gave me all of my Battle Scratch records and basically taught me how to DJ. Right.
Yeah.
And then you would go to these gigs, and then the guy that is sampled for a lot of these jazz, trip hop, whatever you want to call him, that's the guy. Oh, that sax loop you hear, that's him, right?
Yeah.
I mean, doesn't get really any cooler than that, you know, if you can get the actual musician, and he was playing along, and it was like a cohesive deal, right?
Oh, yeah. And I just wanted to see Sam play. And then a few years later, I'm just looking at everything that's happening, just agog, basically,
Yeah.
to use a word that probably hasn't been on your podcast.
I don't know,
Yeah.
sir, I don't know what that means.
He lost him at Stone Soup, and he's never recovered.
Yeah, I didn't know what that meant.
I know.
We all do.
Most of our listeners don't.
Yeah, it's true.
Some do. But I'm curious when you were talking to Sam, because sometimes I'll talk to people that had such an amazing life and with what they did and what they experienced, that I could sit there and listen to them tell stories that are commonplace and nothing to them, and they're the most amazing stories I've ever heard. They'll tell a story about something that happened, and I'm like, how is this not a story that you did? It's just some passing. Oh yeah, I'm sure you've heard a million stories from him that were insane, right?
It's interesting. More so from other musicians than Sam or Beatrice Rivers. Now, occasionally, in a casual conversation, they would just say something. You're like, hold up. Let's stop there for a minute, because they would just casually reference something, but it never came up in a formal conversation. One of the cases was he was going to go and record a record in Woodstock, New York, in a studio.
Okay.
And I asked him, which studio is it, before he left. And he's like, and he didn't know, so he asked Beatrice B, his wife, which studio it was. And she's like, is it the one you recorded with Jimmy in? Stop. Meaning, living up there in the late 60s and early 70s, right next to Woodstock, is Jimi Hendrix, who was well known for jamming with jazz musicians.
Yeah, blues
'Cause
guy, right?
He was looking for these next steps in his development as a musician.
Yeah.
And, so there are these Jimi Hendrix authors that are trying to track down this recording. So we know who the producer was. We know that this was tracked. It was jam sessions. Now, this used to show up on bootlegs all the time, these Jimi Hendrix jams. So there are these folks that are out trying to find this mythical Sam Rivers jam session with Jimi Hendrix. Nobody's found it, so I have no idea.
Wow.
But this is the type of thing that would just sort of casually
Right.
go through the
I mean,
Casually
that's
name
just
drop
tip of
Jimi
the
Hendrix,
iceberg
yeah.
type stuff.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
is crazy.
I do like the casual because the casual names they're not doing it on purpose.
No.
Like, you see like,
No.
when you mention
No.
some celebrity's first name,
Oh,
and then
no.
you're like, hold on, Jimi Hendrix?
Right.
Yeah. Let's talk a
That's
little bit
crazy.
about the panel and the
Yeah.
the deal
The
that's
event
happening.
itself, yeah.
the event that's happening. It's October 7th.
That's correct. Yeah.
Happy birthday to my wife on that day as well.
Oh, yeah, happy
I mean,
birthday,
this
yeah.
is all to celebrate her birthday. No, I'm joking.
No, yeah.
But like, yeah, tell us a little bit about the panel, what's going to be going on, and how people can participate.
Yeah, so all of this, like I had kind of mentioned, was born out of the figurehead concept, and we got to meet Matt through that, just because he was such a supporter of the figurehead exhibit and
Right
the
on.
different events that we were doing with that. And Matt, when you say manager, like I don't know if that properly conveys like everything that he did for Sam in terms of like producing and just being involved. Like, I mean, Matt is kind of the guy that would know what you need to know about Sam Rivers, both as a fan and as a contemporary with him. So I was lucky enough to get to do an interview with Matt, an oral history interview, and much like a lot of the projects that we've done at the History Center in recent years is kind of born out of that, kind of not by accident necessarily, but just we were able to sort of better understand, what options we had available to us. So we knew, how important Sam was to many of the people that we had talked to, in researching music in Central Florida. And we realized that it was coming up on what would have been his 100th birthday. And I know that Matt and his organizations, the various organizations that he's involved with, had some interest in doing that, and so we kind of just worked together to make this happen. So Sam's actual 100th birthday would be this upcoming Monday, I believe, the 25th. So he was born September 25th, 1923. But they're doing some events in New York this weekend, so we kind of gave it a few weeks to let people kind of have the opportunity to go to both. But we're really happy with what we've put together. There's basically, a few components at the History Center itself. All day, we're open our normal 10 to 5. We'll have kind of a pop-up exhibit of photography of Sam Rivers from local photographer Jim Leatherman, who also really chronicled the, kind of alternative and punk scene here
The best.
locally.
Yeah.
Just a
Still
monster of a photographer. Like, you see his work all over. Like, if you've seen a photo of a concert or a musician in Orlando, like 9 times out of 10
That's
it was
the
Jim
guy.
Leatherman.
Yeah.
So he's been really cool with us and allowing us to use that. And he is a diehard Sam, fan and friend, and that's a really cool component of it. And that's
I love
available all day. And then at 2 p.m. we're doing a panel that Matt is moderating, because I don't know if there's any better person to do so. But Sam's daughter Monique will be there, which is a really cool part of that. Also, a gentleman named Rick Lopez, who wrote the Sam Rivers Sessionography, which is a giant undertaking of a book that really chronicles pretty much anything publicly known that Sam did, any recording session, any show.
He liked to play.
Yeah, so it's like a 9-pound book, and
Yeah.
Rick will have that for sale, but he's participating. Michael Heller of the University of Pittsburgh, who Sam's archive is now part of, will be here to kind of provide some insight into that. And then also Doug Matthews, who is the bass player in Sam's band and current incarnation of the Sam Rivers Rejuvenation Orchestra. And then so that'll be from 2 to 4. And then that evening at the social, we're doing a show with the Sam Rivers Rejuvenation Orchestra, which is essentially Sam's 16-piece band that he put together, and they, continue to play shows. And it's going to be a really kind of special version of that. And, the social, again, all this kind of coming back to the whole figurehead
so
project.
cool, yeah.
Michael McCraney, who runs the social and the Beecham, was in one of the bands on the Figurehead label and was really a part of that company. So they've been super supportive and giving us, the space to do that. So we're really excited. It's a kind of a multi-component day, so it's a little bit better to be able to explain some of that. So if you come to the History Center that day, it's just, the normal admission into the History Center, and you'll get to experience the panel and the pop-up exhibit.
That's awesome.
And then that evening, a $10 ticket to see that show. So we really hope people come out.
$10 for that? Come on, man. That's a deal.
TheHistoryCenter.org is the website to go
Yep.
to. Matt, real quick, what's your record collection look look like? I mean, like,
Yeah,
is
right.
it what I think?
Yeah,
Like,
you're
is
like
it-
staring into the eyes of Michael Jordan or something, right?
Like,
Like he looks like he means business.
Is there some room in your house, like with floor to ceiling, with like 10,000
I want
records?
that. I
Like
want
all,
that.
like some of the rarest, like the whole collection is like, I imagine it's just something amazing.
Or is it too immense, or did you have to piece it out?
Uh,
Because sometimes people abandon it because it's just like it's out of
I,
control.
I can't tell you how many pieces are in it, but I am looking at putting a lot of stuff up on Discogs. I'm not going to give the.
I've been working on that
the
myself.
name.
That is,
Yeah.
I mean, you better set aside some time.
Yeah.
Discogs, you can go in there and you can categorize. You can scan all your records and you can organize them so you know what you have in what condition. It grades them and gives you like right now my record collection. I'm new at it. It'll add it all up, say what it's worth. Grade
Okay,
it.
gotcha.
But I would imagine he's got a lot of work to do because I work every night on mine while I'm watching QVC. No judgment. No judgment, please. I love QVC. I'm watching QVC and I'm scanning my records, and I'll do it for hours.
You're watching QVC scanning your record
Yeah.
collection?
Yeah, with my dog, with my little peepee dog. Yeah.
That's possibly the most capitalist thing I've ever heard. Ever.
Yeah, that's what I do. I never buy anything from QVC. I just leave it on to, quell my anxiety a bit. But yeah, so you're working on your...
I am looking at, I've bought records since the second half of the 70s, and I am now going back at some of them, like, what are these really worth? And there are certain veins of things that I have, or like, why do you dare still own these? You need to like get them to somebody else and get the money back.
That's something I'm doing.
yeah.
I'm taking the stuff, like I was gifted a lot of records by BDM, and inside there's a lot of like really good rare the press, like really rare pressings of like Pink Floyd and stuff that's just never gonna, it's not my thing, like I'm definitely more of a
Someone else will appreciate them more.
I don't like that style of rock music. I usually I land a little more Motown and a little more funky, and that's a little, but anyway, it's better to, I feel like I'm like you, it's better to take them down to some record store, a Park Ave remix, sell them and let somebody buy them that actually will appreciate them and use them and care for them correctly.
Some of them I just fear losing,
Yeah.
and not getting the money out of it.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's absolutely true.
Yeah.
Jeremy, Matt, thanks so
Yeah,
much for
man.
coming by. We
Yeah.
appreciate it.
I hope you guys continue to do more and more of these like musical history deals, man, because it's right up that I got to give you guys some love. That all of the concerts, everything that the Music and Mayhem exhibit, all of it was just freaking amazing.
Where
I had the
like,
best time.
Sam Rivers saxophones. They like what?
Oh, where are they?
Do they live somewhere and or is that like something the family has, or
I would
they
imagine.
display?
Yeah.
I think that they moved them along to somebody else at a certain point.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
so
right.
they're not sitting on display. The deal with Pitt, University of Pittsburgh,
Okay.
in the last year got finalized, and this is something that Monique Rivers Rencher, who is Sam's daughter, has been working on for years. And I think ultimately, if this deal had been done earlier, and it sounds like like a real estate deal, but it really was trying to like make his legacy be sort of this living, rolling thing.
Yeah.
There were so many moving parts in finding the right place for it to go, and I think that if it was done much earlier, all of that stuff would have gone to Pitt.
Gotcha.
Would all have lived there. But some of it, some of the, I would say, like, frankly, the saxophone itself is a more ephemeral thing compared to the compositions in his recordings.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
the important things, to me, the
Yeah.
important things have gone to a great institution.
Yeah, the art
Yep.
is the important part of it.
For
I mean,
sure.
it's just like
Yeah, no,
it's like
I'm
some-
like that way too. Sometimes I like
it's a
to
good
hear the
question.
music and then you're looking at it and it's just like, wow. Or maybe to look at how simple his, instrument would have been. I don't know what he played. I don't know, but I do like. I know what you're saying because sometimes you can see like the wear and the tear on the
absolutely.
in the where he had to open the spit valve or whatever. Like whatever. It's like I look at that stuff and I love the wear and the tear, and to think that he held it with his hands. I don't know.
But
I'm that kind of guy.
Are like saxophones something that you have for
I think you can
25
have them for,
years?
I know. I think you have them for a lifetime.
Or do you have a bunch of different ones? Like I always wondered about it seems like you'd have one for a long time, but not like guitars. Like guitars, it feels like people like don't use the same one for that long. Like
Yeah.
maybe a year or
Did
so.
Sam have a favorite?
Yeah. So he had gotten in the early 90s he was in a group that was sponsored by this German saxophone company called Keilwerth, and part of a European tour they got to go to the factory and like pull it off the wall, in the factory. So that was kind of his hot rod, was this Julius Keilwerth tenor saxophone, and I think soprano was from the same place.
Gotcha.
So they got to go to the factory, and
That's
that
neat.
became his axes. Those became the thing almost exclusively I heard him play.
That's really cool, man. Yeah, who knows? Maybe sometime they'll figure something out.
I always wondered if those things were custom made for the like when someone gets famous enough, had trumpet, saxophone, or whatever. Like, if the manufacturer custom makes one for them, or if it's just.
I'm sure Dave Koz is playing some like crazy bejeweled,
Yeah, well, I know, but
electric.
But the actual instrument has to work the same internally.
But
so
a lot
really,
of a lot of the guys, they get the
you
like
get
Kenny
the razzle
G's got the
dazzle.
crazy you got the razzle dazzle.
Yeah.
I'm anti razzle dazzle.
Yeah.
I just make it sound good.
Guys, thanks so much. I
appreciate you guys so much.
Pleasure. Thank you.
And again, get your tickets, thehistorycenter.org, for everything Orange County History Center related.
Yes, sir.
And we will be right back.
Awesome. I'm still on Twitch and YouTube, but that was great.
Awesome.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Anytime.
Sorry to make you wait a little bit.
Oh, no, you're good.
Apologies for our. Where's that go, Sam?
That is Tuesday 3.
Thank you so much.
We get into a situation where
Is that the
if we do
26th?
over 30 minutes,
Yes.
we usually just do the full 45 because that's usually the blocks of time that it gets aired. Yeah. So it's like once we pass 30, then it's like 45. But if we, pre-30,
This
we'll
felt
stop
exactly right. Questions were right.
Yeah,
Went to the points, and we didn't belabor too. Hopefully, I didn't.
No,
belabor
I enjoyed
You
it.
guys are great. You said 3?
Yes.
I said agog.
I'm glad you said that. That was
Matt
good.
really has a way with words.
We need more Agog on here.
Good lines here.
We'd love to talk to you again.
Yeah, man.
Anytime in the future.
Anytime you ever want to come back.
The
we'd love
chat
it.
says we need to have him back in with old Kyle Eagle.
Oh, he's
Yeah.
a good friend of mine.
Yeah, that would be super fun, man. We'd love anytime you're got. I mean, obviously, you guys know if there's anything.
Kyle and I have a whole thing
Yeah?
together. Yeah.
Maybe we should explore that thing.
Yeah, I'm into it. Kyle makes me laugh, and he's always sending me jazz to listen to. He's the only person that sends me jazz to listen to because he's probably the only person that knows I listen to a lot of jazz. But the dog likes it, so we put it on.
All right. Cool. It's lunchtime.
Thanks again.
Yeah, it went by fast.
Oh man, thanks for having me. That was so fun. I had a freaking blast at that.